Howdy, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be reviewing the Lifeline Ultra STP by Transkins. Like always, I'll be ranking this STP based on 5 different criteria. The first one's going to be looks and realism. Will I get any weird looks if I use this at a urinal? Next one is going to be comfort and packability. Will it feel or look like I have a boner? Next one is going to be STP function and learning curve. Will I be able to use this in a reasonable amount of time, or am I going to get frustrated and throw it in the trash? Next is pricing. Will I be broke if I buy this STP? Yes or no? And then finally, my overall ranking and would I recommend this to people. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that I bought this prosthetic with my own money. The company did not send me this for review, and anything I say will be my own opinion of it. And if something works for me, it may not necessarily work for you, so please keep that in mind. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that what you're about to see is a prosthetic that looks like a penis. If this bothers you in any way, please feel free to click off the video. Thank you for watching as long as you did, and have a good one. Alright, here is the Lifeline Ultra STP by Transkins. Give you a little wraparound. Has a no spill lip, quite a very large one. This one is custom painted to me. The size specs on this are from base to tip is 5.5 inches or about 13.97 centimeters. The shaft length is going to be 3.5 inches or 8.89 centimeters. The girth is going to be 1.5 inches or 3.81 centimeters. The weight of this is around 303 grams or 10.7 ounces. This weighs around 2 oranges, so it is a bit on the heavier side. I'd also like to point out that I reached out to the company and tried to ask how much this weighs because it wasn't on their website, and they didn't respond, so I actually bought a kitchen scale to weigh this. So the normal price of this STP is $199 USD, but this one in particular is the custom coloration, which costs $399 USD. Normally they only have 8 color options, but if you do custom color options, they can mix different silicones for you and they'll paint it, obviously. For my pricing tier, I'm going to have to put the custom paint job version of this STP in the Think Again category. This is a very pricey STP, but it's because it's hand painted and they even get reference pictures of you, so they make it as accurate as possible to what you want it to look like. So you're paying for a highly skilled labor, so I understand the price increase. When I received the STP, I received it in an unmarked white box, and inside was the STP in this resealable storage pouch and the STP inside. I really do love when companies use boxes as their packaging method because it's sturdier, so it's not going to get damaged in transport, and it's a bit more discreet. I also did like the fact that it came with a reusable pouch. My only drawback on this one in particular is compared to the STP, it's a bit small, so I always feel like I have to really force it into the bag, and I'm afraid I'm gonna rub off this amazing paint job. So I'd love to see if they maybe came out with like a slightly larger bag. I'd like to point out that my first impressions of this prosthetic was actually more with the company itself. I had a small oopsies where I entered the wrong address for shipment, and I reached out to the company and they fixed it up. They even intercepted the package to make sure it got to where it needed to go and didn't charge me extra for the shipment, which was really cool of them, and they were super kind. They were even trying to help me out when it got lost at the post office by sending me pictures of what the box looked like. So I just want to point out that Transkin had really great customer service, 10 out of 10. So my actual first impressions of this STP, I was kind of blown away by how good it looks. If you look, it has a really amazing detailing. It's not like tacky at all. It is a little like frictiony, but I wouldn't say it feels exactly like skin. It definitely feels like rubber, but it feels nice. It's not sticky in any way. It's squishy, a little stretchy. Not too stretchy because these walls are a bit thicker. One of the balls hangs down lower than the other, which is nice. They're not 3D balls though, which is fine with me, but they are very firm because of that. This is a cut head. They currently don't have an uncut head, but I really would love to see that, and if it looked really good, I would definitely think about rebuying it in that version. Again, this one was custom colored to me, and it was really cool the process because they asked me like, hey, what color scheme do you want? We recommend this one, XYZ, but we'll do what you want and compare it to your reference photos. So I suppose you could ask for any color you want without reference photos. Another thing that stood out to me was this no spill lip is pretty intense. If you get a look at it, it curves all the way around from the top, goes down, and it comes to a point and it curves over really far. So if you see, it's basically never going to create a backwards funnel, which is something I'm always concerned about. You can see this great detailing on the balls actually ends about halfway when it's going to be pressed up underneath your body. This prosthetic in particular is a mixture of the color F3 and G8 because I really wanted the yellowness that F3 had, but the darkness that G8 came with. So if you do go for the custom coloration, you could totally ask for that. Here's a picture of what the G8 normally looks like compared to what my prosthetic looks like. Something I do want to point out with this is even though this outside has really great detailing, like it has veins, you can tell this was real life casted off of someone because you can see how much detail goes into it. There's even like goosebumps from the person, the nice ball folds and whatnot. The only thing that really looks off to me, it's really just a personal thing that I noticed, was this lip that's around here that goes against you is a bit jagged, and it's because these are all handmade and casted, so I think that comes from them cutting off the excess. I wouldn't let the little jaggedness against this cup bother you because I really didn't feel it in any way. I just noticed it while I was looking at it and admiring how good it looks. For looks and realism category, I really can't put this in anything but this is literally a penis. Because this is specifically painted to my preference and using reference pictures of me, this literally looks like I have a cis penis when I have this pulled through underwear. It's absolutely amazing. I would say even if it didn't have the custom paint job, it is a very detailed prosthetic. I just wouldn't put it in the highest tier if it was the unpainted version. So for peeing with this, it's actually super easy. I felt like I could just place it and go, and because it has almost a cute angle to it, it sticks out far enough that you're able to get good distance between you and the toilet, but it hangs low enough that I felt that it was better to pack with because you can see it compresses pretty well. The no spill lip on this is really no joke. It felt like the walls of Boss Sensei from Avatar with like how sturdy it is. Again, if you look at it, it doesn't really collapse like it would with some other ones. I also found that the pee flow on this was really good on it, which I was really grateful for. I know that in earlier versions of this, I think this was a closed tip, but now it's open, so you don't need to pinch it to open it up. It just free flows. And it is shaped to look like a normal hole instead of like one big circular one. The only downside I found about this cup in particular is it's so deep down this way that you really want to make sure you're tipping it forward to get any pee that might be stuck in there. So just keep that in mind. So here I am doing the 250 milliliter test. You can see it exits out really fast and it doesn't back up at all, which is really great. I also noticed that with the 400 milliliter test, which is the higher end of a normal urination, it also handled it really well. With how big this STP is, it actually doesn't hold that much when I did the max capacity test. It's only about 70 milliliters, but that is enough to give you enough leeway if you do have a stronger flow, but I had no issue using it whatsoever. I think for STP function and learning curve, I'm going to put this in light work, no reaction. Again, I really do enjoy that no spill lip, and I actually didn't need to have it pressed up against my perineum to make sure it didn't spill. I could make like a slight gap between myself and the cup so that it didn't end up spilling anywhere, which was really great. The only people I could see having issues with this is maybe someone who has a very far back urethra where it wouldn't really fit in the cup. For packing with this, I would definitely make sure to place this in the right part of your anatomy, because even though this silicone isn't tacky, I would notice some tugging or rubbing because of how this really contours to your body and wants to be really pressed up against you. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you don't exactly need it pressed totally against you or in between your cheeks when you're using it, so that helps. I would have it more in the front of my thighs and just have this point kind of like in between, but not really pressed up against me. I'd say it makes a larger bulge than I want, but wearing tighter underwear does help because it compresses well. My only issue with packing with this really is these balls, because they're super solid and there's not that much squish compared to if it had like 3D balls and there was gel in there. I didn't find it that uncomfortable, but I was definitely more aware of these balls if they were between my thighs. I would say another thing that I'm not the biggest fan of with this is how heavy it is overall, because everything's so thick and sturdy that you can really feel it when you're wearing it. If you compare it to some of the other STPs I've reviewed, this is on the heavier side. For my comfort and packability ranking, I'm gonna put this in alright. I think the balls on this are just a bit too thick for my thighs, and I felt sometimes like I was walking a little bit bow-legged because of this. The silicone itself feels nice, and the shape is good overall. I just think it would be better suited for someone who has a larger thigh gap than myself. So, what did I think of the Lifeline's Ultra STP by Transkins? Well, I really did love how this STP looks. Again, it was kind of hard for me not to, with the fact that it's custom painted to me. I think it just looks so good, and I really love it. Again, I really would consider buying another one if it did come in an uncut version, because I think it would just look so good. I did really like this cup because it's very sturdy, but sometimes that almost works against it. Again, with trying to tip it forward to get all the pee out, because it's really sturdy and held together the way it is, sometimes it felt like it was a bit harder to tip everything forward to get things going. I also am not a big fan of how big these balls are, just because I felt like it made the bulge bigger than it needed to be, and it felt not as comfortable as ones with smaller balls. For my overall ranking, I would have to put the Lifeline Ultra STP in would recommend. Again, it hit a lot of boxes for me, such as being super realistic, custom painted to the customer, and it actually peed really well. The only things that really hold it back from being a must-have are that really high price point and the fact that I didn't find it the most comfortable compared to other STPs. But if you want an STP that pees really well and you're having a hard time finding one that matches your skin tone, then I would definitely check this one out. So, that was my review of the Lifeline Ultra STP by Transkins. I hope you found this video entertaining, informative. I hope it gave you some insight on this prosthetic. If you have any questions about this prosthetic in particular, or any recommendations for other ones you'd like to see me review in the future, please let me know. Have a good one.